Hey everybody, welcome to The Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pantelleresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. You can access this show by typing in www.themicroeffect.com. Then click on the appropriate links, the chat room links. Come on in, make friends, get acquainted, solve some issues, save the planet. After all, we do live on this place, whether you believe it's round, square, pegged, or whatever shape. You can access me by going to different places as well, bluesky.com, gagcanada.com, brian396.com, which I encourage you to all to read these resources and understand the nature of what we are being actually afflicted with. You can also go to my site as well, augmentandforce.com, and there you will find a plethora of information. I would encourage you to look at the nano data, look at the XNA data, look at the C60 data. Look at it all, assess it, understand it, and figure out what is happening to the planet. I don't know where to begin. You know, it's like every so often, you know, I get an unexpected surprise. You know, I really do. You know, I don't mean the usual surprises, but you know, by the butt plugs and the derelicts and the simpletons that call me and try to tell me what I'm doing wrong or whatever. But I get a pleasant surprise every so often by people that are really genuinely concerned, and especially I feel really good when I hear somebody in Canada, throughout other parts of Canada, contact me. You know, I've been getting it more and more often lately. You know, the East Coast, and now I'm getting it from the West Coast, and the message is getting out there, because a lot of times, you know, everybody who's plugging along and working at the awareness factor, working at a solution factor, working at making a positive network going on in everybody's respective country, United States, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, wherever, you know. It's good when you get other people calling you out of the blue and say, you know, I just saw your stuff and I'm blown away by what you're doing. That's always a good, you know, compliment to the fact that we're doing something right anyway. And so I got one of those pleasant surprises today, actually, which was really nice. The fellow that called me is from the West Coast, or actually in Edmonton, Alberta. And he's actually defending Canadians and showing Canadians how to defend themselves with the law, not with the legalese bullshit stuff that we're being propagated with today. And I told him that's great. I think it's wonderful, because you know, we need more of us doing different things, and then coming together and bringing it to the what I call the council. I don't even like to use the word government, because the word government instigates this idea of control and what is allowed. A council allows everything to be put on the table. We can talk about it all. We can do it all. We don't regulate anybody. Everybody's free to go out and explore the venue they need to explore, so that we can bring it together and utilize it in a way where it's constructive, upbuilding, strengthening, and continuing in a very solid foundation. That's what a council does. That's how councils should work. Yeah, unfortunately, we are under a corporocracies. And if you haven't figured out by now that Canada and the United States are no longer countries but corporations, and what we have are dummy governments, or rather CEOs of a corporocracy, then you're still living in the past. And I'm sorry to say, you need to get caught up, because you're dumb. The things that are going on today, the violations of rights of people, and I'm not talking human rights, because human has to do with animals. We're not talking about farm animal rights. We're talking about people. We're talking about mankind. We're talking about men and women rights, real rights that men and women have under God's laws, under God's creation. Those are the laws we're supposed to be utilizing, not legalese. And the moment we grasp that concept, the moment we grasp the concept of what that means, that's when you're truly going to be free. That's when you're truly going to understand how you have been so programmed to believe this concept of whatever they're trying to promote. It's not even funny. I want to point out to you something else. It came across to me today. Everybody's doing research, which is great. I think it's awesome. What's happening now is information overload. You're saying one thing, you're seeing something else, saying another thing. And a lot of times I get called or emails to me, say, Tone, this guy's saying this guy's saying that. And then I give you an answer. And a lot of times I won't give you an answer. A lot of times I think it's a necessity that you do your own investigation and then you test what you're investigating. That's the only way you're really going to know up from down. Okay, we have to recognize that we have to understand that we're looking at things today from a whole different perspective. You know, somebody contacted me from New Zealand and asked me about the Gerson therapy, and I told them the Gerson therapy was good in its day 80, 90 years ago, but that therapy would not work today in today's times, because in today's times, between the chemtrail fallout on the products that they're using and the genetic engineering of the soil and the glyphosates they're spraying on everything, the Gerson therapy would not work unless you had your food grown in some kind of indoor grow-op that had high levels of nutrition and antioxidant properties given to those plants. If it's not coming from there and it's coming from the outside, chances are it's not going to be as effective as it was 80 years ago. 80 years ago, 90 years ago, the soil did not have the chemistry it has today. It did not have the genetic material it has today, nor did it have the nano constructs that's going on in it today either. And that's the thing you got to look at today. You can't just take what we read 30 years ago and 40 years ago and still think that it's going to be completely applicable. Some things may be, some things aren't. Some things have changed to such a degree that a lot of the old remedies may not have any effect whatsoever, and in some cases may even cause a problem. This, again, is something that we have to view and interpret a lot of the things that have been put out there in the past, including some of the stuff I put out there, so that we can understand that everything we're doing today in regard to DNA, genetics, mitochondria, chromosomes, ATP production, cellular health, and so on, organ health, tissue health, has to be correlated to the current environmental stresses that we are all dealing with in our respective areas. We're all dealing with chemtrails. Everybody is. We're all dealing with frequencies from these towers and from your cell phones and from other materials. Everybody is. We're all dealing today with glyphosate poisoning. They're spraying that on everything and everybody, everybody's food. Again, that has to be correlated. We've got to correlate the fact that we've never eaten organics. They violated the organics since 1960. The USDA sticker, if you look at the USDA history back in the early 1910, 1920, they were already sabotaging the food supply since then. So the USDA has no real meat or bite to its regulations. It's just another ways and means to hyper cost some foods that could be bought at any other place and have the same actual value. So perceptions today, no matter what you're doing in regard to alternatives or complementary health, has to correlate with your environmental exposures to whatever you are dealing with. If you're a factory worker and you're dealing with solvents, you're going to need to take things like arginine and agamantine. These things help remove the solvents from the liver. You're going to need to take things with high sulfur content like NaC, L-cysteine, alpha-lipoic acid, taurine, methionine, garlic, fermented onion, onion extracts. These things are required today in order to be able to neutralize some of the environmental exposures you're dealing with just in your work environment alone. You know, so when we're looking at what we're dealing with today, it has to all correlate to what, and what you're trying to do, it has to correlate to what you're exposed to. That's how you have to start assessing certain things. A lot of the health issues a lot of you are dealing with, and I get calls from people all the time. I get people calling me who are my elders, in the 70s, 75, 80s. And they tell me some of the things that they're dealing with, and I explain to them and express to them, a lot of this is accumulative over decades and decades of exposure. Okay, and when we're looking at our aging, the health conditions we have today has absolutely nothing to do with aging. Zero. Nada. That's all bunk. What it has to do with today is the amount of accumulation that have you been accumulating over decades and decades of contamination. And what happens is once you get reached to a certain level of contamination, then you start to break down. Once your immune system can no longer contain the components that you're being exposed to, or can no longer remove the materials in the body, that's when you start breaking down, and that takes time. So what happened is the medical field, as per usual, came up with this idea to cover it up, that these are all age-related diseases. In fact, they are not age-related. They are contaminated accumulative is what they are. Contaminated accumulative, that's what they are. When you start detoxing these things out of the body, you start clearing these things out of the system, you start removing these poisons that you've been accumulating, you start cleaning up the lymphatic system, you start cleaning up the intestinal tract, you start cleaning up the arterial lining, you start cleaning up any buildup in the respiratory or in the kidneys. Guess what happens? You start to reverse the damage. That's what we're dealing with today. Young people today, the millennial aged people today are screwed. They have never had much of anything in regard to whole, healthy foods. And you can see it in the way they talk, in the way they think, and how that cell phone basically has them by the short and curlies. They're addicted to it. I was watching a video. Eddie Griffin, he's a comedian, and he was making comments about Obama. He was making comments about different things. Now, the guy has got some strong language for sure, you know, but the message was loud and clear. Anybody who could get past his methodology of putting it out there would understand what he was saying. The man was literally shaking on the stage when he was talking about some of the things he was talking about. You could see the way he was puffing and toking on the cigarette. The guy was freaked out. But he was telling it the way it is. So Obama was nothing but a puppet, you know, and he made comments in regard to this. He stated to people, young people, of all ethnicities, he says, and he used some strong language as per usual, but he said, turn off the TV for 1 week. 1 week. He says, you'll have a junkie breakdown. I'm saying, to those of you who are listening to this program who are millennials, turn off your cell phone for 1 month. Turn it off for 1 month. All of you, actually. Turn off that bloody, demonic, possessed, programmed device that's taking you over through programming, through Blue Beam technology. Turn it off for 1 month. 1 month. See how long you last. See how long you last. I don't even own a cell phone. Don't want one. Bad enough, I got the phones I have. I still use the old-fashioned landline. I mean, I think to myself, what did we do before cell phones? Holy shit. You know what? The only thing I can't do with my landline, I can't text messages. I don't want to do that either. I want to be able to talk to who I'm talking to. I don't want to type a message. If I want to type a message, I'll do an email. You know, but if I want to talk to you, I want to talk to you. I want to hear your voice. I want to be able to communicate with you. I want to be able to exchange ideas with you. I want to be able to interact with you. Okay? So I'm using a landline. And you know what? It still works. It still does the job. I don't need to take a selfie. I don't need to give the government more information about me. Hey, look at this dumb jackass on the phone here taking pictures of himself. Boy, we really got this guy's program. We got them programmed pretty good. They're acting like chimpanzees. Look at the goofy look on this guy's face on the picture. Look what he's doing. Look what she's doing. Look at that dumb gal over there. Look how stupid she is. Look what we got her doing. Yeah, that's what this is all about. Monitoring your activity to see how stupid that they've made you. They're dumping lithium up in the sky with the aluminum and the lead and the thorium and the strontium, and they're always adding crap up there. You know. And look, and we see the result. We got them hooked on a phone. We got them hooked on that toy. That toy they can't even go to bed without that toy in their hand. So I issue you all a test. I issue you a challenge. Drop the damn cell phone for a month. For 1 month. Within the first hour, you're going to have a junky reaction. You're going to start having the shakes and the sweats. You're going to try to reach and grab that phone because somebody may be trying to call you. Because you're so important in this bigger scheme of things in life that you got to have that communications network going on. But the real addiction that you're going to be breaking is that program emitting from the phone with that blue beam technology. That's what you're going to be fighting. I assure you, you are going to go through a withdrawal. I assure you, you are going to have the sweats. I assure you, you're going to be so anxious and so stressed out that you ain't got that phone on all the time connected to you. And if you think I'm kidding, give it a go. See how bad this tech has you. And that's a tether. That's an anchor, and that's basically a form of artificial intelligence possession. That phone is possessing you. And you may not think so. You may think, Tony, you've gone off the deep end, man. You're crazy. That's how can, demons can possess you. What do you think gave you? Who do you think gave you this technology? Who do you think gave it to us? You think all the toys we have that's out there right now doesn't have some kind of tether to it? We're talking about mimetics. We got mimetics going on all the time, but nobody's looking at that. They're looking at all these diseases because that's what they got everybody believing. Oh, you got this brand new disease. I don't know about you, but my BS button has been broken for quite some time. And when I hear BS, these days, if I don't censor my Mediterranean side, that part of me comes out, and sometimes it's not very polite. And I have no apologies for it either, because I think in today's times, being polite is not the politically correct thing to be. Being civil is, but being polite, I don't think so. Not no more. Being polite just puts people to sleep. That's what I find. And I think today, if you've got the truth, you need to be as bold as a lion. Tell it the way it is. You know what? The truth will shock people. The truth will shock people. I'm not kidding you. Tell people the truth, and man, you're going to get all kinds of reactions. Oh, you're crazy, man. That's a conspiracy theory. Oh, man, where'd you get that from? No way. I wasn't taught that in school. School didn't teach us nothing but how to be a program, how to operate on a program parameter. Didn't teach you how to think. Well, my generation did. I shouldn't say my generation. The generations of the 50s did. But they got us to think in terms of being defiant, anti-establishment. And now And now that is biting them in the ass. Because the very people that they made to be defiant is now defying the error and the wrongness of what's going on in today's time. They made us. Congratulations. They created us in terms of thinking that we were going to further their agenda, but now it's backfiring and biting them in the backside. You know, the whole concept is just tell the truth. That's it. It's all that's required of anybody. Just tell the truth. How you tell it, I don't care. How you get it across, I don't care. You're going to be dealing with different kinds of people, and everyone is in a different environment. I'm not in those environments. I'm in my own unique environment. I get to tell people the way it is, how it is, and how I see it. And if they don't like it, there's the door. That's my view. You know, this is the truth, baby. You don't want to hear it? That's fine. We're cool. I'm not going to. But if you're going to say you're going to give me your bull, and you're not willing to at least investigate or even take a look at what is being said, you know what? You're done. You're done. I got no more time for you. I'm out of time for you. I'd rather spend my time with somebody who's actually giving a hoot about what's going on and is trying to make at least an attempt. And if they need my help, I'll assist them. No problem. I'll bend over backwards for them. But if they're out there just wasting my time and trying to take advantage, you know, I will cut you loose. That's just how I am. That's how I'm built. You know, and I make no apologies for it. That's the way God made me. That's how I am. Period. I'm not going to try to change His template. He can do that. When we do what we got to do, sometimes we're going to lose friends. That's okay, because maybe they're nothing but dead weight anyway. And then, somewhere along the way, you will make new friends, new people. People who are on the same page you are. It does come around sooner or later. And the more you put it out there, the more you're going to attract good people. You're also going to attract a lot of arseholes. There's no question about that. I had my fair share, trust me. And I still keep getting them. They're all trying to convert me to something or another, and I keep telling them I'm not interested, and they get mad for some reason. I don't know why. You know, I tell them I believe in the living God. I don't need your religion, and they get all pissed off. Figure if you got God, why do you need religion? But hey, to each their own on that one. That's my perspective anyway. So you're going to get that too, but you know what? Just stand your ground. They'll leave you alone sooner or later. You know, or just tell them to buzz off. You will eventually come across people that are the real deal. And they'll call you, or you'll make contact, and then you'll form new bonds and new relations that will further put you on the map where you need to be in your development. The one thing I'm noticing, and it could be just me, I don't know, but I'm noticing the more you're involved and the more you step into the truth, the more isolated you do become, but you wind up finding people on the same level as you keep going. And then the bonds you make with these people are more like family bonds. It's almost like you lost a long-lost family member and you reconnected. That's what it actually feels like. And so when you hear each other out, you're more tolerant to listen to each other because we're fighting the same war. We're being attacked. Europeans are being violated in Canada and the States. We're being cast aside, you know, whatever. And I think it's already becoming a kind of a common thing. I think as well that when we start seeing this going on, this is a form of ingratitude, that because it was the Europeans that built these countries. Let's face it. They came over here, they assimilated into the system, they helped create these countries to where they're at today, and now we're seeing the leadership on the respective countries literally tearing down the countries. Prime ministers, presidents, congressmen, parliamentarians, I mean, it's such a pile of rubbish. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I gotta talk about New Zealand before. Well, maybe I'll wait till after the break because the break's coming up. But New Zealand is getting so screwed up the backside. It's not even funny. And for those of you down in Kiwi land that listen to the show, I'm going to talk to you about sodium fluoroacetate, and they're now spraying it all over New Zealand. And I'm going to tell you what I think. I have an opinion about this as well. I think New Zealand has become the prototype. My thinking. They're spraying the landscape with this stuff. This is one of the most toxic pesticides on the planet. There's only 2 countries that have it in use. I think somebody mentioned Brazil. I'm not sure if it's Brazil, but New Zealand is the other country. And they were spraying it when I was down there 10 years ago. I saw videos then about women throwing their tumors at the politicians because they're saying it was so safe. It's so safe. It's killing the people down there. It's killing everything. It's killing everything down there. All the livestock, all the wildlife, everything. When we come back, we'll talk about that. See you in a bit. Hey, we're back. We are back listening to the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. I am your host, Tony Pantelresco, and you're listening to us live. In the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. Again, I'm just sort of repeating myself there. Sorry. Cool. Alrighty. We are looking at New Zealand. They're spraying sodium fluoroacetate, or otherwise known as Brodifolcum 1080. Excuse me. And what they're doing is they're spraying everything, and I mean everything. So the livestock, the wildlife is all dying. And my assessment here, and this is for those of the native culture, people that have been put on reserves and whatnot, that live off of hunting. They have the aboriginals down there. It's to wipe out their access to the food supply. Starve them out. Now, let me give you a worst case scenario, shall I? Let's just say, for argument's sake, that the system has crashed and there's a major exodus out into the bush, wherever that may be. You got your place set up, you got your bug out bag, and you're on your way out the door. And you're now heading toward your haven that you have worked so hard to develop. And now you get out there and you notice there's no birds, no squirrels, no bugs, nothing. Zip. And you're starting to notice that all the vegetation around you is dead or dying. And then somehow you're able to get a soil sample. Hypothetically now, this is just, my comic book version of this reality. Doesn't mean that could happen. But in my comic version, let's say you were able to take and get a sample of the soil and find out that the soil has been completely killed with a chemical such as Brodifolcum 1080 or sodium fluoroacetate. Okay, what would that happen to those people who are leaving to go out into the bush if the bush is dead? What happens to the native population who live in those environments, now have no way of sustaining themselves? No buffalo, no elk, no caribou, no deer, no pheasant, no goose, no duck. Dead. Dead. What happens? It's a form of a gulag mentality, don't you think? Going on right now in New Zealand. Going on right now down in New Zealand. Down in Kiwi land. I've been down there. I've been down to Wellington. Beautiful country. Great place. You know, it's got its problems like any place else. But this, and they're doing all this crap, and they're initiating all this nonsense down in Australia and New Zealand because they are the furthest Commonwealth countries away from the rest of the Commonwealth. They're away from the United States, they're away from Canada, and they're away from the British Isles and other territories of the British Isles. So they're conducting these experiments and these things there so they can initially, sooner or later, bring them here. Now I'm giving you the heads up here on this, and again, this is just my speculation on this to get you to consider that this may be a reality. So the whole concept now is, what would you do? What would you do? How would you get around that? See, that's the things that I go, what if? Now, some of you have this concept that Jesus is going to come back and rapture you. My deepest sympathy, you know. That's how I look at that. There's nothing set in stone about that one way or another. And to put all your marbles in that kind of thing and not prepare yourself like Noah did, in my humblest opinion, is a little bit stupid. And I think you're at that point believing in the Zionist, Jesuit, Freemasonic theology that's infiltrated Christianity. I've never seen anywhere in the Bible where it's an easy ride for anybody who believes. Never. And I've never seen any historical book like the Book of Martyrs' Mirrors where it again speaks of Christians having an easy time or an easy ride. It does say that God will get you through it. It doesn't say how, though. So my perspective here is real simple. I would be ready for both. If you got no food, you got no water, and you got everything around you's been poisoned, how are you going to survive that? How are you going to get through it? I'm getting you to think about this now before it's upon us. Some of you say, well, that may not happen. It's happening down in New Zealand. It's happening down in Australia. Well, they're a Commonwealth country. Do you think the United States is not part of the Commonwealth? You'd be sadly mistaken. And you don't think Canada's part of the Commonwealth? The Canadians know we're part of the Commonwealth. We got our face on our dollar. One day that may be on the American dollar. I wouldn't be a bit surprised. The new president of the United States, the Queen of England. You hear Americans now, don't bite your tongue. Don't you ever say that. May come to that. You never know. You never know. That's my point. And we need to be aware and network, even with the people in New Zealand and Australia, and people throughout Canada, the United States, and Europe. You know, Middle East even. The Baltic region. Everybody needs to talk to each other. Because I get it all the time. I'm in that position where I get to hear from everybody. So we may want to start looking at things in this perspective. If they're doing it there, when is it going to come here? It's not if, it's a matter of when. And if I've got the time, what am I going to do now to get ready for that? You know, so just my thoughts on this. You know, I'm just giving you a preempt concept so you can get ready. See, part of being in the health movement is seeing the problems before they occur and then start coming up with solutions to those problems before they get here. So when they do get here, we have the potential to be on top. Brian 396 and myself, he was the first one actually to start talking about nano poisoning. I came along and we started collaborating together, and we've been putting it out there. And a lot of you are waking up to it, which is great. And we worked on it so that we have solutions in place already so that you guys who are showing the signs and symptoms would have some hope. We went through it. We didn't have nothing. There was no guide. There was no console. It was us working together, brainstorming, 15 hours a day, fighting with this affliction and this integration that without our consent. I didn't consent to this crap. I still don't. Now you have not only the awareness factor, but a hope factor, because the two of us collaborated. Imagine if all of you did the same. Man, we could have this thing swinging. The foundations would be restored. Things would reset themselves. This goofy crap that's going on today, I mean, seriously, we are seeing what corporations do. We've seen them in the past. If they're not regulated, if they don't have a check and balance, they run amok and destroy everything they touch. Ford Motor Company destroyed River Rouge because there was no check and balance there to stop them from doing this. And the river is still dead after 70 or 80 years. And that's in the Detroit area. Everywhere the automotive industry goes, everywhere it touches, everywhere it pollutes. It defecates the land and doesn't clean it up. The oil industry is no different. Go up to northern Alberta and you can see the destruction they've done to the environment, to the earth. And yet there's no check and balance to stop them from destroying the landscape that's there. And now we got birth defects in Canada because of the petro industry. It's just wrong. Again, I'm pointing these things out not to give you a dim glimpse of things, but okay, once we know what is happening, once we know what's going on, then we can make a stand to start making changes, even in the way we, like, seriously, why do we all need a cell phone? The reason why the cell towers are going up is because the need for more bandwidth. What if everybody shut these things off? You know what? This would be something to see. I'd be happy to see it just in Canada if it only worked in Canada. But if everybody shut off their cell phone for a month, no cell phone activity, all landline, we'd see this industry go belly up after 1 month. Imagine if the United States did it. You got 10 times the population we have in Canada. Imagine if everybody in the United States for 1 month did not use a cell phone. 1 month. The president of the FTC, that satanic bastard, would be fired. All he's worried about is $10 billion, and that's important. Imagine if everybody in the United States turned off the cell phone for 1 month. All these frequencies were being, you know what, in that 30-day, 30-day time frame, you might start seeing a reversal of some of the health conditions that you're all dealing with, because when those towers goes off and they hit you with those frequencies, because it's sending the band across the land, and you're on the land, you're being hit with those frequencies, which is causing great amount of DNA destruction in your genetic code. Imagine 1 month of not getting zapped, fried, or popped. Imagine 1 month of no tower frequencies going off because nobody's using the cell phone. Man, we would see this industry kiss your backside. Think about that. 1 month, nobody uses the damn cell phone. 1 month. A lot of the terahertz and the EMF frequencies and the microwave frequencies would drop drastically. You might find you may not need to do all this shielding and all these things that we're doing because we've eliminated the cause. Imagine that. Maybe go outside and see a tower not functioning anymore. Not beaming you and frying you with terahertz frequencies, using a combination of infrared and microwave that's causing severe mitochondrial and DNA damage to your insides. Imagine not having an EMF pulsing you with the Wi-Fi all the time. Imagine that. Imagine no iPads being activated. Imagine that. Imagine going back to a landline. Imagine having a answering machine like we used to have. So if you're not home, they can leave you a message. Imagine that. No more preoccupation whether somebody's actually trying to call you. No, imagine that. No tether, no leash binding you to a technological toy that's programming you with blue beam frequency. Imagine that. Imagine having the capacity to start thinking again for yourself and not get caught up in this level of stupidity that knows no reason. Imagine that. I assure you, if everybody shut down these phones and demanded that these guys would put in the blocking agents in these phones that's required to protect your brain and your DNA and to minimize the transmissions on the frequency band, that you only need a phone to talk. You don't need to see television. You don't need to have music playing on your phone. That's the most annoying thing I ever hear. When I call a company, I got to hear this music they're playing, this program crap that they're pumping into my head. You know, put me on hold, and I'd rather hear quiet than hear that noise. You know, it's just incredible. Or put on more operators so that you can get good customer service again, instead of having people listen to a piece of music so that you can deflate or diffuse their anger because they couldn't get a hold of somebody right away. You know, imagine that. No waves, no programming, no frequencies, no DNA damage, no mitochondrial damage, no tissue damage, no ATP destruction, no brain damage, no visual damage. Your eyes might start coming back. Wow, can you imagine that? And this is all done through this kind of technology. And then we got other things going on. We got mimetic technology going on in our bodies too that looks like and acts like viruses or fungi or bacterium or mold or algae. And a lot of this stuff is all technological, and it's being activated by these frequencies because everybody's using this technology. It's a what do you call that? Like a Russian roulette. It's just like, yeah, we're going to give you the toys, and we're going to let you play with the toys, but every time you turn the toy on, it's going to kill you. It's going to break you down a little bit more at a time. It's going to cause you to have memory loss. It's going to cause you to have visual loss. It's going to cause you to have focus loss. It's going to cause you to have thyroid issues. It's going to cause you to have thymus issues. It's going to cause you to have heart palpitation issues. It's going to cause you to have high blood pressure issues. It's going to cause you to have liver issues. And on top of that, we're going to program you with the frequency. And some of you say, you're a little bit on the extreme side. Am I now? Am I now? You know, think about it. We've had 60 years of being programmed. 60 years of listening to music and videos and audios, and 60 years of television telling us what to think, what is acceptable behavior, how we should conduct ourselves, what the role of government is, and how the government should be taking us over. Because we don't know how to be responsible people. And then we're willing to trade, what's the term? Freedom for safety. What safety is there in government? If you think the government is going to protect you, go talk to the natives on the reservations. They'll tell you what the government did for them in protecting them. Go talk to the Aborigines right now down in New Zealand that's being sprayed with this sodium fluoroacetate. Go ahead and talk to what the government will do for you. How it's going to offer you safety. The governments do nothing but corral you. The medical field does nothing but corral you. And they corral you in such a way that once they have you, they can now exploit you, experiment on you, and then set you free. And then when you die, they basically, take you apart and see what caused it, how it caused it, and they start reading your genetic code. Somebody contacted me the other day about something going to a doctor, and the doctor was about as useless as they could be. And I said to her that all the doctors do these days is you go in, you give them your symptoms, they take the blood work, they assess the symptomologies to what currently has been sprayed in the air, and they do a comparison analysis, and they send that information to the military, and you get nothing. You get a drug that keeps you stupid. What has been cured in 50 to 60 years? What? What has been actually treated? And now we're impacting people with something called a mimetic. I'm working still on this document that I've been working on in regard to mimetics. I'm expanding it more and more. I'm going to try to put it in a way where everybody can look at it and get it. Look at it and see how it's constructed. And look at it and understand that this is inside of you. So that you can be aware that you are part of the great experiment. The laboratory is called North America because we are #1 here. So you had to be the first to be exploited and experimented on. And once we figured it out, then we export it to the world. Europe gets it, Africa gets it, the Middle East gets it, the Baltic region gets it, the Asians get it, the Russians get it, the South Americans get it, then the Australians get it, New Zealanders get it, and then everybody modifies it. So that's the world we live in today. What are we going to do? You're going to use your brain. You're going to start reading. You're going to start investigating. You're not going to listen to any more goofy gurus. Okay? You're going to understand the nature of what we're dealing with today has to do with what we're exposed to. That's your starting point. If you got health issues going on, they've been going on for 20 and 30 years, chances are what's going on in your system has been by design as a result of environmental exposure and a program operating in your body. I do not believe that most of the diseases today are currently diseases made through normal, natural means. I believe today, majority of the diseases we're dealing with today are programs that have been inserted in us through food, through vaccines, through the air, or through the water, or through even exposure in an environment, or through even the very clothing we're wearing. An operating system that goes on and off through an activation algorithm that they turn on and off through these frequencies. That's what I see today, more than anything else. You will get the odd thing that you could fix here and there, but the things that are very prevalent, the uncurable things or the incurable things, are programs. Nothing more. I don't buy into the fact that an STD like herpes will come on and off precisely at the exact same time of the month, every month like clockwork. That's an operating system functioning under its algorithm. If it was a normal viral issue or something to that effect, it would be a constantly breaking down of the body, not just activating at certain times, but it would stay active all the time, unless the immune system was able to somehow suppress it or remove it. You don't see fungus stopping, oh, I'm going to take a break today. You don't say back to you, oh, today I'm taking a break. It's Sunday, I'm going to go to church, I'm going to take a break today. It's Saturday, I'm going to obey the Sabbath, I'm taking a break today. Some of the things you hear just makes my head go woo-woo. Woo-woo, man. All right, before I go on, I'm always talking about the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. Again, give them your support. Help them any way you can. Ask them, what can I do for you, Joe? How can I help you out? How can I make your network better? How can I expand your network for you? How can we get your work? How can we get the message out there? Give them a hand. You got Brian396.com. You got ByeByeBlueSky.com. You've got GagCanada.com. You got AugmentEnforce.com. These are places you can go to get information that you can then assess for yourself the ups and downs of what we're dealing with today, and understand that this is the environment I'm talking about that you are all being exposed to, that's causing all the health issues that you're dealing with today and have been dealing with for at least 20 or 30 years for some of you. So check them out. Go to AugmentEnforce.com. There is a catalog link there. Feel free to access the catalog link. check it out. We have, again, flash drives. We have books on DVD. We've got the triangle. We got the bucket. We got the repulsors. We got it all. And if we don't have it, we'll make it if we can. A lot of remedies on the YouTube we also will create for you on there. So if you see something there and you want it made, we can do it. We will tell you what it's going to cost from that point on. The whole idea is for you to make it, but if you want somebody else to make it, we can do that for you as well. So if you need a consultation, feel free to contact me, independz@yahoo.com, INDEPENDZ@yahoo.com, or 519-977-5351. All right, I'm going to give you guys something in the chat room. I think this is something that you might enjoy, or something that you'll gain something out of. Let me see if I can find it now, where I put it. Where did I put you? Nope. Aha! Here it is. So check it out when you can. I'm going to give it to you so that you can have it right there for you. Where'd the chat room go? There you go. Chat room. Here you go. It's a link. It's one of Brian 396's sites for informing you about the nano and some of the things that are going on. So again, investigate, correlate your health issues today in direct connection to your environment. I cannot stress that enough. That has to be the starting point. No breads, no pastas, no rice, no corn, no cereals, no grains whatsoever. Don't use omega-3s. They further break down the myelin integrity of your cells. No soy of any kind. That's an obvious. And absolutely no canola oil. Fats you might want to use are omega-6s and saturated fat to help your body in fighting off what we're dealing with today. They can help the environment become healthier by offering the energy required and even have antiviral properties. So again, check out some of the things that you can do. If you have some of the health issues that we've talked about through mimetics and other nano issues, you can go on my site at augmentinforce.com, and then in that site there is a recipe for a YouTube link in the directory of content. Feel free to access it, and then check out the nano bucket and the nano solutions. This will go a long way in helping a lot of you out in getting rid of this or reducing the overload that's in the system. Don't be discouraged. You're going to have your bad days and your good days. That's just life. There's no way to pander that. Life is what it is. There are days you're going to be good and days you're not. And that's just the way it goes. Go with the flow. It isn't going to last one way or the other. Do the best you can in the detoxing. Do the best you can in what you can afford to eat. Avoid anything that's growing above the ground. Everything should be root-based vegetables. Go back to the roots. Go back to your roots. Use nettle root, dandelion root, burdock root. These are important for you to utilize. Garlic, sweet potato, carrot, parsnip, celery root, turmeric, all beets, everything underground. Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's that shiny silver material falling down on the surface of the planet, causing us to all become assimilated to death in some form or fashion. So again, use your head. Build greenhouses if you can. If you can't, do the best you can what you know. Showed you just some things you can do to start on your quest to finding reliable resources that can help you. Don't listen to goofy people who are still using methodologies from 30 and 40 years ago. They may or may not work. You got to remember, correlate to what you read even in the past to what we're dealing with today. Essential oils are still something you can still use today. Homeopathy is, again, something you may still be able to use today. Elements and minerals, definitely you're going to need today. Saturated fats, definitely going to need today. Omega-6, you're going to definitely need, not the omega-3 like they've told you. In fact, there's not an omega-3 sold in the market today that isn't rancid or putrid or even causing toxicity to the liver. So again, check it out. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Stay awake, stay aware, stay alert. All right, we'll see you next week. Till then, come form a council and exchange ideas. Take care.